He is a business and development coach, few that we've had with military leadership experience, which I'm going to love to listen to. And he's got a unique approach to how he helps people. And I'm looking forward to getting to know about those certain steps. He's got a well-developed website that explains what he does. Thank you, Ted, for joining us.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate this, Kevin. It's always fun for me to talk about leadership. I got to warn you, though, sometimes it's like you hit a red button and all this stuff starts spewing out. So
I want that. That's what I want. The more talking you do, the less I have to. And and our listeners don't want to hear from me. They know about me. They want to hear about you. That's why they click on it. So where are you calling us from, by the way?
I am in Leavenworth, Kansas, in the heart of the country.
Yeah, that is the heart. Are you a big Jayhawk fan?
Yeah, I was very blessed. I had a 22-year Army career, and my last active duty assignment was here at Fort Leavenworth. So that's what brought me here in 1992. And I served the next 4 years at the Command and General Staff College here at Fort Leavenworth. And then I was very fortunate to get a job right after retirement that kept me here. And when that job went away and I started my consulting business, we've been here ever since. Now I've been here 33 years, I guess.
Wow. Now you said you were in the military for 22 years?
22 years. I was very fortunate. I graduated from the United States Military Academy, graduated from West Point.
Oh, wow.
Class of 1974, which just tells you that I'm an old man.
That is quite an honor.
Yeah, it was a wonderful opportunity, wonderful blessing to attend the academy, to graduate from there. Wonderful class. Got to play major college football.
You did?
Yeah, and then a 22-year career. Served in throughout the United States. Served a 2-year tour in Korea and a 3-year tour in Germany. Was in the first Gulf War for a few months. So yeah, it was a wonderful career, wonderful educational opportunities. I often tell people if I was 18, had to do it all over again, I'd still go to West Point. I'd make the Army my first career, and I'd marry the same woman. So
that's wonderful.
God has blessed me tremendously.
How did West Point find you? Because I'm one of the rare people too that has been recruited by West Point. For people that don't know West Point, it's a very, very, very difficult to get into, and you have to have accomplished a lot in high school for them to even notice you, let alone go there. So how did you get? Were you an excellent football player in high school, or?
Well, yeah. High school, I was. Kind of interesting. When I was in junior high, my family, we lived in Newburgh, New York, just north of West Point, and we took a Sunday afternoon drive and went down to West Point. And we were touring it and so forth. And one of my sisters asked, would I ever want to go to school there? And I knew enough about it to know that it was tough, and I said I'd probably never be able to get in. Thought nothing of it. And then about junior year, my high school, I was playing football quite well. Ended up being all-state, both offense, defense, honorable All-American. Wow. So I got attention that West Point came calling, and I came home. This is the height of Vietnam now, height of Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And so I told my mother what had happened, that day the coach from West Point had been there and so forth. She said, no way I'm going to let my son be a second lieutenant in the Army. You're just cannon fodder. Then we made a trip to West Point. And from that point on, had I gone any place else, she would have disowned me. Anyway, so West Point came calling, and I was very impressed. Really had a sense of a divine calling to go there.
Yeah.
And I was blessed at that time, and I think this is important for leaders, I guess, in life, is to really listen and do your due diligence. I was fortunate that I was exposed to just about every opinion that a young man could have, or now young woman could have, about going to the academy and graduating. Man, I heard from cadets who liked it, cadets who didn't like it, graduates who liked it, didn't like it. Some stayed in the Army, some got out. If you had an opinion, I'd heard it. So I really knew what I was, as much as you can, short of experiencing, and I knew it was about as much as you could possibly know in making that decision. And I never regretted it. All 4 years, there were highs and lows, certainly, but it was great education, great preparation to serve on active duty in the Army, which I then did for 22 years. And it was just an incredible blessing.
Now, so when you left 22 years and you did a tour overseas, and so at the end of your 22 years, you're saying that's what brought you to Kansas, the state of Kansas?
Yes. I was, as I looked at, how do I finish my career, I kind of had a sense of I wasn't going to go as far in my military career as I had ambitions. Again, it was a great career. I have no regrets. I have nothing but gratitude about
what
the
was your
opportunity.
job in there? What was your, I mean, obviously, I'm sure it changed.
Yeah, well, at the end of my career, I got here at Fort Leavenworth to be an instructor in the Command and General Staff College.
Okay.
Specifically, and I asked to come because I felt like I knew my career was, coming to a close. I mean, every military career is going to have an endpoint,
Yep.
and I knew mine was closer than what I had thought it was going to be, and that's just kind of the reality. So, what's the last great thing I could do? I thought the last great contribution I could make is to teach, and so I called up my assignments branch and infantry branch and said, send me to Leavenworth to teach. And so, boy, they jumped at that. They didn't have too many volunteers, but so I got, and rather than doing 3 years, I did 4 years teaching. And it truly was a great way to wind down my career, to make that contribution, to particularly help young majors learn about how to operate strategically, how to operate in what we call a joint and combined operation.
Is that what you were teaching? And was it a certain class?
Where I was fortunate when I was a student at the Command and General Staff College. I got involved in the Army Strategist program, and then went to school for it. Earned a master's degree in international relations. And so when I got back here to be on the faculty, it was just a natural for me to run that training program. So in addition to the core classes that I taught and the electives that I taught, I ran the certification program that we had. So it was a real blessing to be able to work with some very smart men and women who could think strategically, could look into the future, could understand how to connect ends, ways, and means, and then how to apply that. So it was a great way to finish a career, working with great young Army officers, and know that, as I stepped away, man, there were great people coming behind me that were going to even exceed what I did.
Yeah.
So I just, I'm thankful for that opportunity. But when it came time to end, okay, it's time to end. Let's move on to the next thing. And I was again blessed with the opportunity to immediately out of the chute become a vice president for international marketing and sales for a manufacturing company.
Wow.
And it was incredible. So basically, what I did was take all of the strategic skills, the strategic thinking. Yeah. Planning, the ability to analyze and synthesize, to be able to peer into the future, anticipate, assess how we're doing, anticipate what are the forces and trends and so forth, and then be able to plot a course for the organization to follow going into the future. And so moving those skill sets into the private sector, it had to change the vocabulary a little bit, had to change the scope and the focus, but the intellectual skills, I think, remained pretty much intact. And then, of course, I had to do a deep dive and do a lot of study to learn more about the private sector. Particularly, I fell in love with marketing. When I was a soldier, I thought, gosh, worst thing I ever wanted to do was sell. So I was thinking of selling shoes at the penny store, which I did in high school. When I was in high school.
Did you?
I worked when I was in high school. I worked at J.C. Penney's in my town there. Worked in the men's department, selling shirts, socks, and pants and so forth, periodically selling shoes. And so I said, I'm never going to do this again. This is not me. Well, fast forward, 25 years later, whatever it was. Wow, okay. Selling is different at that level. Selling at the individual and understanding marketing, understanding the not only the market analysis, the product analysis, the product design, bringing those together, looking at the needs, wants, and demands of the market, figuring out the size of the market, figuring out what are they going to buy, when are they going to buy, how are they going to buy it, what are they willing to pay, and so forth.
Yeah,
that quickly became pretty exciting for me. And so as I've taught courses over the years, I've taught executive MBA programs. My mantra is that marketing is the first among equals. All the business functions are important, but I think marketing is first among equals, because marketing includes, okay, what are we going to sell? What's the goods or services? Because that's what the market demands. And so what is it? How do we design it? How do we sell it? Where do we sell it? And how do we communicate the message? Very exciting stuff. At least it became exciting at that time.
And what was the company doing? The vice president that you were vice president? What was the?
My first company I worked for was Western Forms, Western Forms International. Excellent company. They manufactured aluminum forms for concrete construction. And in the rest of the world builds with poured concrete. Here in the United States, we have largely, particularly residential, is wood framed housing. and then we'll use tilt up and so forth. We don't do nearly as much poured concrete as the rest of the world. And so in the rest of the world, we use these aluminum forming sets for it industrialized. It's almost like manufacturing houses because of the way the system was designed. So it became really a fascinating market to be in, a great product, the best in the market at the time. And I certainly had to learn a lot rather quickly. But there was a time for that job to go away too. And that's when I got into consulting, coaching, and training.
Now, what made you think of starting that? So, because this has been 1997. That's when I graduated college. I'm 50. So you've been doing this for quite a while. So
1990, first December 1997. That's when I started GSSI.
Yeah.
Grace Services Inc. And again, the job I had as vice president, it went away. The company had to downsize, so all the vice presidents who were not family members, we were let go. That was my first experience. But a friend of mine said, "Hey, you've learned so much and you've got all this knowledge as a strategist. Why don't you start a consulting company and I'll get you your first client?" And I curse his name to this day. Not really. Not really. I don't, because it got me started in this journey. And so I started with, wow, okay, well, what am I going to offer?
Yeah, what are you going to offer? Right.
What am I going to offer, and who needs what? So it gave me my first job, basically serving as a defense contractor. But it gave me a little bit of breathing room to start. When I started out, I had to go where the market wanted my skill sets. Where did somebody want what I had to offer? Because I didn't know enough. I mean, I knew enough. I knew a lot. Know a lot more now, but I still don't know everything.
Sure.
But 28 years ago, I had no clue. Okay, what am I going to offer? I had a semblance of an idea, and let's try this, let's try that. So I was kind of chasing what do people want? So it was a combination of marketing, it was consulting, it was some leader training, eventually got into employee surveys. So it was a lot of good stuff, a lot of great experience. But what I would suggest now, where I'm at in my career now, is 25 years later, is, what do I really have a passion for? What am I unique? What is it that I can offer that's unique? And where is that market that needs that uniqueness? Not a huge market. It can be a small market, but they need what I have to offer. And my focus these days is really helping leaders unlock the wisdom they need to face their biggest challenges. And when I talk about wisdom, it's going beyond just simply the knowledge you have about the product, knowledge about marketing, knowledge about sales, knowledge about finance, knowledge about all the business functions, knowledge about the market, and so forth. But how do you then analyze and synthesize in such a way that you can deal with complexity and chaos? Because as you and I both know, I mean, there's a lot of chaos in the marketplace. There's a lot of change over time.
Yeah.
And so how do you develop the resiliency? How do you develop the courage? How do you develop the emotional intelligence? All these things go together to help create the wisdom, the ability to see into the situation you're dealing with. What are the circumstances? What's the nature of the problem? What's the root cause of the problem? How do we spell it out? Who are the actors? Who are the players involved? What are the goals, the objectives? What are the impediments? You really got to be able to come to grips with what is it you're really dealing with, and then develop solutions that look at, okay, what is the immediate need, but what are the second and third order effects? And so that's when I talk about wisdom. It's being sensitive to all that stuff and knowing how to ask questions. I think that's one of the most important. I think two of the most important skill set a leader must have. Every leader, if you're going to be successful, I think the critical skill set you must have is to communicate effectively and instill trust.
Yeah.
Now that sounds like two things, but it's one. That is one thing, because you cannot separate them. If you don't communicate effectively, you're not going to be able to instill trust. And then if you don't instill trust, you can't communicate effectively because there's a veil of distrust that distorts your message. So you've got to be good and timely. You got to be provide sufficient information, accurate information. You've got to be effective in giving your message to people such that you become believable. So it's not just your words, it's your deeds, words and deeds going together that generate the trust so that what you say, what you do is seen for what you intend it to be. And that's when you're going to be able to have effective communications and trust working hand in hand, which is supposed to be. So anyway, within that, that being the most critical skill, I think an important sub-skill within the idea of communicating effectively is asking questions. You got to be able to ask pertinent, timely questions. And you've got to ask them with the right intent. There's one of my favorite authors, Edgar Schein, a social psychologist who died about 5 or 6 years ago, wrote a lot about organizational culture. He had his best book on organizational culture, but he wrote one of my favorite books called Humble Inquiry. And what he says is we've got to do less talking and more asking, but we have to ask with the right intent. I don't know. I really want to know. So I must ask you to tell me. What is it I need to know? So that's the whole premise of his idea of humble inquiry. And so that is a key part of good communications is asking good questions so that you listen to understand. I think that's essential. If you're going to be a good leader, you've got to listen with the express purpose of understanding. And having understood, then you got to be able to deliver your message, deliver it succinctly, deliver it with a clear sense of giving people, answering the Simon Sinek question of why. Why are we doing this? Because if people want to, what I think we have to do as leaders is invite people to be excellent. You got to invite them. And so you got to create what I call create a motivating environment. And to be able to do that, you've got to be able to show people, here's what we're going to do that's significant. One of my mantras, and I wish I could remember who first taught me this. It was years ago. But somewhere I picked up the idea that every organization exists to deliver something of value to the marketplace. That's critically important. I mean, you hear that and you say, well, of course, it's intuitively obvious, but how often do you hear us talk about it? Very important. Every organization exists to deliver something of value to the marketplace. So here's what we have to do together. We exist as an organization. We're going to deliver something of value. It could be a product, it could be a service, a combination of those, but we're going to offer something at a justifiable price so that we can improve people's lives. Here's what we do. It's significant. Well, to get that, to deliver that value, you obviously need performance from your people. Your people need to have a sense of significance. My job counts. Here's what we're going to offer together. Here's my piece of that, either directly or indirectly. But you have a sense of, here's my role. This is why my role is important. And having addressed that, again, this idea of motivating environments. So we give people a sense of, here's what's significant. We equip them with the right training, with the right resources, the right process, the right teamwork. We put them into an organizational culture that surrounds them with all of the elements for success. So you mentioned earlier the 7 elements of right. What is the right outcome? So you're looking for the right person at the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing with the right stuff, so we get the right outcome. All we have to do is provide the right leadership. And I think that formula works either at the tactical level or even at the strategic level. And it answers the question of, okay, who is that right person? Who's got the skill set? Who has the attitude? Who has the ability to then go do the right thing, because I'm going to equip them with the right materials. I used to emphasize this. I've worked with construction companies a lot. And so when you, as a superintendent or a project manager, I mean, you're just typified. What are you trying to do? You know, you have the right place. Here's the project job site. That's the right place. Now, my job is to get the right person, right? What's that person with the right skill, a plumber, electrician, whatever the skill set is. Get the right person with the right tools, the right supplies, and then he does the right thing because he does it correctly. So right person, right place, right time, so we get the right outcomes. But we still have to provide the right leadership.
So are you dealing with people primarily? I mean, it's been 30 years since you've been doing this. I'm assuming you've run the gamut, but are you dealing with gross revenue of 5 million, 25 million, a billion?
I haven't crested a billion yet, but let's get there. I've done 100 million. I've done a lot of construction companies, some 300 and 400 million per year. So I've run the gamut from 2 to 3 million.
All with their C-level people, like their CFO?
Yes. Well, that's my target audience, but I have worked with mid-level managers. So generally, it's been mid-level managers and above, and each one of them I've got to tailor a little bit to what is it they need. You mentioned my
is that the Raise Leaders program that you were talking about?
Yeah. That was the first model I developed a long time ago to kind of capture the what I just put with that icon. Let me open up my icon so I can remind myself. Yeah. So the R is to review the performance requirement. Remember, I said we're going to deliver something of value to the marketplace. That value requires some sort of performance from our people. So we need to understand what is the performance requirements. So I think that's the critical thing. So what is the performance requirements? Then we've got to assess our proficiency, how skilled are people. So when I was working with the construction companies, we'd gone through and defined the project management process and defined what are the skill sets, project management skill sets needed for an entry-level engineer, a mid-level project manager, a senior project manager, an operations manager, so forth. So we knew what the skills requirements were at each level, and then we could assess how proficient are we. 75% people proficient in design work or whatever the model is. So you review the performance requirements, you assess your current proficiency against those requirements to, number 3, identify the training needs. So what is it you need annually? What is it we need to train people on? And then, excuse me a second, turn this off. And then we stage the training. Once we identify, here's what we have to do. We create the training opportunities, the training experiences, and then we evaluate both the training. Was it good training? Did it meet our needs? Have we advanced the skill sets? But then you also have to evaluate, was it effective? I mean, do we see an improvement of performance in the out in the field? That's why I developed that years ago, called Raise Leaders.
And now, how often are you meeting with the people? I see biweekly. Are these the coaching sessions? Or?
Yeah, it depends on the client. I like to meet at least, if we were going to have 1-hour meetings, at least twice a month, because I want to be able to maintain the momentum.
Yeah.
I want to give people time to work on it, work on the skills, work on the behaviors that they're trying to change. If it's transformational coaching, then they're really trying to change something fundamental to who and what they are.
Yeah.
If it's performance focused coaching, we're trying to get into very practical near-term performances they have to have. And sometimes it's a combination of both of those.
Right.
But I think that at least twice a month we should have a conversation to monitor progress, to make sure that they're staying on track of study, of doing the practical exercises, of experimenting, finding out what's working, what's not working, getting feedback. So that the whole purpose of a coaching program versus a training program, coaching is meant to cause people to be reflective. To create the coaching environment must create a safe place for reflective, confidential conversations.
Yeah.
For someone to transform, they must feel like there's a safe place to have a conversation with somebody who is strictly going to follow confidentiality. People can tell me something and it will not go anywhere else.
Yeah.
No one else will ever read my notes.
Yeah.
I will not have a conversation with anybody, not even their boss, about what they say. I may give the boss feedback. Hey, they're engaged. Yes, they're paying attention. They're engaged in the process, but I will not, under any circumstance, talk about what did they say? What was their complaint? What's their problem? It doesn't happen. It's got to be an environment where it's safe for them to evaluate, what are my self-limiting beliefs? Where are my doubts? What's holding me back? Because And one of the things we have to stress is, what are you going to change as a leader? What do you change about yourself? Because you cannot go in and, you haven't got any special tools to go in and change the heart and mind of somebody else other than your words and your deeds. So it's all about your behavior influencing somebody else to perhaps make a change.
Well, then they have to change. That's got to be their idea,
Yeah, absolutely. And other people, if you want to influence somebody to change, if you're in a leadership position and you want to cause change, then you've got to be able to set, again, that motivating environment. We create the environment where there are clear expectations. Because good performance is based on, number one, we set clear expectations. Here's the size, the quantity, the whatever it is. Here's what we expect you to produce. Then number two, we've got to observe the performance. Somehow we've got to know people are getting it done so that we can give them timely, meaningful feedback. People want to know why, how am I doing?
Yeah.
And so we've got to be able to give them timely, meaningful feedback. And if they get off track, one of the things we have to do is get them back on track. We have to, as Ken Blanchard talks about in his model, we got to redirect them back to the direction we set at the first thing. And so I think those four elements, setting clear expectations, observing performance, giving timely, meaningful feedback, intervening when necessary to redirect, critically important as a leader. But you've got to do it in a safe environment where people feel supported. And you got to do it quickly. You don't let people get off track and let them stay off track and wander way, way out of the model. You got to be able to redirect them rather quickly. One of the stories that I think I found it in some magazine or something one time, but the story goes that a gentleman walks into a bar one afternoon. Goes up to the bartender and says, "Hey, can I borrow your phone? I don't see any public phone here. Can I borrow your phone to make a phone call?" And the bartender says, "Yeah, it's kind of quiet. Why don't you come down here at the end of the bar? I'll let you use my phone." So the guy goes down, gets his beer, tables. The phone is now on the bar top, and he calls and he says, "Hey, I saw about 6 months ago you had this opening for a supervisor position. Any chance that's still open, or has it been filled?" "Oh, so you did hire somebody. How's he doing? Is he going to be there for a while? Any chance it's going to open up again?" And the guy listens and listens, and he says, "Wow, that sounds like this guy is really doing a great job, and he's going to be there for a while. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with me." And as he's walking out, the bartender says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I'm sorry you didn't get the job." And the guy said, "No, I have the job." So that guy was so starved for feedback.
Yeah.
Doing that, he couldn't.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, there's a guy, Peter Schutz. Peter Schutz. He was the CEO, American CEO at Porsche in I think it was late 1980s, maybe 1990s. When he retired from there, he went on the speaking circuit here in the U.S., giving a good presentation, and he talked about the essentials for getting. His speech was how to get extraordinary things out of ordinary people. And his, if I can remember his order real quick, it was about, people want to know, why am I here? Why am I here, and why is it important? And again, it goes back to what I said about significance. People want to know, why am I here? Why is this job important? Help me understand it. And then what they want to know, what's expected of me. And then they want to know, number three, how well am I doing? And then fourthly, they want to also know, where do I go for help?
Are you finding that you don't have good human resource in the companies that you're going to?
Pardon?
Like, when they say, where do they go for help? Are you finding that most of the companies you're at don't have a good human resource escape, or is that part of something you help with, or is that what you mean by where do I go for help?
Well, it should be, if the company's large enough and they have HR, they need to have a good people development processes in place. First of all, as a leader, you've got to be the first source. The first place any worker ought to be able to go to is their supervisor.
Yes.
So, supervisor, you've got to be able to create that kind of relationship that it's safe for people to come and ask questions, admit mistakes.
Yes.
And you're going to get past them. And as a backup, the organization needs to have a human resources process, a people development process, where there are opportunities to go to a HR generalist or HR supervisor to get systematic assistance, but never ever must we create a environment where leaders think, oh, if they got a problem, they just go to HR. No, if they got a problem, they come to you. Then you may turn them on to HR because it's bigger than you. It has payroll or something that you just don't have control over. But HR is there to support leaders, not to replace leaders.
That's a good point. Are you typically dealing with all of the leaders of a company or one person, or does that differ?
Yeah. Over the years, it's varied. I really like it when I'm able to work with the team of leaders, both with team coaching. So you coach the group, the team, and how they're doing, what's the clarity. I'm a great believer in, and I use Patrick Lencioni's model. Wiley & Sons, great company. I'm licensed with them to use their human capital assessments, their everything DISC model, and then 5 behaviors of cohesive team, which came from Lencioni's book, 5 dysfunctions of a team, and they turned that into the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So that's kind of a team coaching model where we work on fundamental foundation. And I totally agree with Lencioni here. The first thing you've got to be able to do is have a trust. You've got to establish trust because we must trust each other to have conflict. And when Lencioni talks about conflict, he's talking about having the kind of conversations about issues. It's always about issues. It's not about attacking one another. It's talking about the issues. We can debate them because we disagree, and we can be robust about the issue, about the policy, about the decisions, and so forth. We can be robust about it because we trust one another. I know that you're never going to knife me in the back, and I'm not going to do that. So we can have candid conversations together. And we know that once we make a decision, we're going to move forward together. So you first establish trust. Then you have conflict, meaningful conflict around ideas, issues, and so forth. And then you have commitment. Because once you've discussed the issues, once you've made a group decision, you commit. And everybody gets a commit. Then you can hold everybody. Now that everybody's committed, the 4th level is accountability, and that gets you to the results you need. So it's a great model that Lencioni created. Wiley & Sons took it to the next step with their 5 behaviors of cohesive team. I've had the pleasure of working with that model now for 15 years or so. And so that's part of my coaching program is to use those tools and those instruments. But then once we've done that, to routinely meet with the team to what's the action plans? How are we doing? And then holding each other accountable in a team. And then secondarily, meeting with each individual. And again, having those candid, confidential conversations about their personal performance, their personal leadership with their team, with other team, their relationship with other team members. So the ideal model for me is to work with an organization because I want leaders to succeed individually, but the organization to move forward collectively. And so working with the team, working with the individual leaders, and doesn't get much better than that.
How often do you find yourself, for how long a period of time do you find yourself coaching in general? Do you have a specific time frame you like to do?
Well, if it's an individual, it depends on what the issue is. It'll be anywhere, right now, minimum of 6 months.
Okay.
Right now, I won't take an engagement unless it's 6 months.
Gotcha.
6 months of for an individual, 6 months of coaching and training goes with it. And then if it's the team will probably go for at least a year.
Okay.
Some teams I've been there for 3 years. Some leaders I've gone as many as 8 years. So it kind of varies as much as number one.
8 years. That's a really long time. That's the longest I've heard so far.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure to be able to do that. So it was a pretty neat engagement. It was fascinating to watch that leader grow and mature and to see what his team produced. So I think working with a leader, particularly somebody who wants to be transformational, they know they want to be fully capable of engaging with their people. They want to be fully engaged with the marketplace. They want to be fully engaged, understanding the dynamics of the organization, and to be able to explore instead of course. Okay, one of my maxims is that if you want to change an organization, you have to change the leader. Now, think about it. If you want to change an organization, you have to change the leader.
100%.
So that has two implications. The incumbent either changes, the incumbent can change just simply by changing one assumption, maybe, or changing one skill sets, something about what they believe, what they perceive, think, and feel is going to change so that they make the change that is necessary to change the organization. Now, if that doesn't happen, we go to the other option, which is we change out the leader. We've got to get a new incumbent.
Yeah.
But change requires change from a leader, which is basically getting back to culture. I mentioned Edgar Schein, who I think wrote the best book, I think, on organizational culture. And that was the title, Organizational Culture. And I loved his definition that organizational culture are the assumptions we made about external adaptation. How do we adapt to the outside world? What are the lessons we've learned about internal integration? What have we learned about integrating people and ideas and equipment and so forth into the organization? And we've learned these lessons to be true, and we teach people this is what we want you to think, feel, and why am I skipping it? Just reciting it at lunchtime. We want you to think, feel, see. I'm sorry. This is what we want you to perceive, think, and feel. Those three things. Those are key verbs that Schein uses. What do we want you to perceive about our brand? What do we want you to perceive about our clientele, about our teammates, about our profession, everything about the organization? What is it we perceive? What do we think about it? And then how do we feel about it? Those three things go into this is our worldview and how we engage. And so when I help an organization, in fact, I'm going through that with a client right now. We just finished their draft leadership model. Now we're working on their organizational culture piece. And that's what we set out to do. What do we want you to perceive, think, and feel about everything that touches that culture? So I think if you're going to really create that kind of the motivating environment, that environment that invites people to be excellent, you've got to be very intentional. Not only do you have to be intentional about, again, that value we're going to deliver to the marketplace. Here's the value, here's the product, here's the service, here's the quality, here's the range of options, whatever it is. Here's what we promise. We're going to make a value proposition to the marketplace. Here's what we promise to deliver to you. That's the value we're going to deliver to it. But then in doing it, what do I want to tell my people about? If you'll come and work here, this is what I'm going to offer you. Here's the safe environment where you can find significance, where you can be excellent at what you do, where you can find success, where you can have meaningful relationships for as long as that they stay with you. Not everybody can stay with you for forever.
Right.
It's impossible.
Right.
But we want to make sure that we create that environment where people grow and mature and they have a sense of significance, and likewise they make enough money to pay their bills.
Right. So so when people are coming to you, companies are they coming to you because hey, our profit margin is 12% and we want it to become 16%? Or are they coming to you, hey, I can't keep people in my building, they're all leaving? Or is it a combination of those?
It's a combination of those. Been quite some time. One of my favorite projects. It went for about so I worked with that team for about 3 or 4 years, I think, with the first CEO, and the second CEO kept me around for I think another 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was. My profession, it's usually when your champion leaves, the next guy brings in somebody, and I thought for sure that was going to happen. I knew the guy in was about ready to leave, and I wasn't sure the only person that was qualified to take over, I wasn't sure if he was going to keep me or not. And so when he said, yeah, we're going to keep you and let's schedule the next meeting, I just, wow, okay, happy with that. But anyway, that one, when we started, the CEO said that he felt that if he could get his team, that was the biggest focus he had, was how to get the executive team working, because if it was firing in all cylinders, it would be 3x the revenue.
Yeah.
And man, he told me, and he told me what they were making and what 3x meant.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that was an easy sale because I didn't even come close to maxing that out. So That was a great. So that one was about the team performance for profitability. Obviously, to get profitability, you got to address not just simply sales, but you got to obviously internal operations as well.
Absolutely.
So that was great fun. And then with other teams like that, many times, particularly if I had help with the strategic planning, one of the things we put in place, obviously, is strategic scorecards, balanced scorecards, which I'm a great believer in, and action plans. So what was
the third one?
So you want to put in place not just simply a plan, but a plan that has balanced scorecards and action plans.
What are the, I couldn't hear that part. Yeah, exactly.
What do we do with due dates and who's responsible and how do we synchronize people?
Yeah, it brings accountability. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
and write it down. That's the key thing. You got to write this down. A good plan, and that's I've seen over time is. I remember I had one that went in. It was a weekend retreat, and they brought me in to talk to the team to hopefully they buy in, and then the next time after that we'd start the strategic planning process. And there was a guy that was really cynical about strategic planning. He said, "Why should we pay you all this money? All we're going to do is put the plan on a 3-ring binder and put it on the shelf."
Oh wow!
Well, we're not going to do that.
Yes.
If you think we're going to put it in a 3-ring binder and put it on the shelf, you're right. Go get somebody else.
Go get somebody else. Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to do this. Yeah. That's what I want to be engaged and do what I call quarterly business.
Yeah.
And so on a quarterly basis, we take a look at what's the numbers. We said, here's the activities. Are you doing those? Are you making the calls? Are you getting these milestones? Are you writing the policy? Whatever the actions are you getting them done? And number 2, what are in a balanced scorecard, what are all the key performance indicators, and what are the targets, and are we meeting those?
Yeah.
I think was it Kaplan and Norton, I think, developed the balanced scorecard and the whole philosophy that's been for the last 30 years from their initial writings. Incredibly useful. And I love the idea of the balanced scorecard, where it's the balance between non-financial metrics and the financial metrics
of a company. Yes.
Yeah, those are so important. And I like to use, because it's scorecard, so sports is certainly the analogy. And it's like in sports. I've been a Yankees fan my entire life since I was born in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
The one team I've been with my whole life is Yankees. Sadly, they were just eliminated last night.
They were all for you. You get 27.
Blue Jays knocked them off, unfortunately. But I mean, so if you go and look at the scorecard, I mean, there's only one way to score.
Correct.
But how many non-scoring statistics do you look at? I mean, I can't keep track of them. When I was a kid, it was you're just your hitting percentage. What was your number of RBIs, at bats, and all that other stuff. Your ERA, pitcher, and so forth. And now you got base percentage.
It's ridiculous now.
Really, it's all of these statistics that are non-scoring, but they help explain
the value.
How did we perform?
Yeah.
Where do we need to get better?
Yeah.
So that we can
100%.
Yeah. So I have one example at one of my workshops. I used an example. This is from years ago. It was the inter league play. So it was the Yankees and Mets playing each other. And look at the scorecard, and the Yankees won. And you say, okay, now look at the statistics and tell us why. Why did the Yankees win? And you can boil it down to one thing: how many left on base.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was the percentages that night. They were about the same. It was pretty evenly matched, except the Yankees scored when they had men on base, and the Mets didn't.
Yeah, they didn't drive any runs
on that game. They left like 8 people on base.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we got to work on. So it's understanding again your scorecard. So you understand, okay, here's the value we're going to deliver to people. And that's what I love about the balanced scorecard is, okay, what's the financial results we're looking for? But to get those financial results, what's the customer success we must generate? Well, that customer success we generate gets to What's the brand promise we've made? What's the value proposition? What is that value we promised to deliver in their eyes? And then in order to satisfy that, to make our customers, our consumers, our clients winners, what do we have to be good at on internal processes? What processes must we do? And then there's good things you got to do in the marketing or the human resources or the finance or productions or whatever, all the phases of the business. And then in order for our processes to work, what do we have to do about innovation and people? And that's the fourth level of Balanced Scorecard.
That's a great philosophy. Is that the one you use the most, the Balanced Scorecard?
Yeah, I think the classic Balanced Scorecard, which goes from financial, customer success, internal processes, and innovation and employee success. So those are the four classic levels. I've mixed them and matched them a few times, particularly if I was working with a not-for-profit. So, they're cascading in the sense of those four dimensions, but it's cascading in the sense of from the company to the departments to the division, branches, whatever, and how are they aligned?
Yeah.
And it takes
Ted. What separates you? Like, so what do you think? I mean, West Point's a huge deal too, by the way. What do you think separates you from other life coaches? What is it that you're teaching that people have told you? What's the difference?
Well, right now I'm thinking it's age,
more wisdom.
Yeah, more wisdom. I say that jokingly, but there's some experience. I think is one that I've worked with enough companies now, and I've seen enough situations. I've experienced not just simply what I learned about leadership and about people in my Army career, which is incredibly invaluable, but then in my business career over the last 20, almost 30 years now, I've worked with so many people and I've matured. So I've got the experience. I've struggled with that whole idea of, what's the unique selling proposition, I guess it was. And for a long time I thought, God, I don't know what the hell is different about me than somebody else. But now that I've been around for a while, now I can see I've seen so much, I've studied so much, and I guess I've become humble enough to realize how to have the right kind of conversation. Going back to the idea of coaching, how to have that conversation, how to create that safe place for you as the CEO and me as your friend and as your coach. Let's have a candid conversation. Let's make it heartfelt. Let's reflect about the real deal. Don't hide anything from me. I'm not going to be embarrassed by you. I'm not going to judge you. I am here for your agenda, your success. That's what we're here about. Because I've had success. Yeah, I am successful. So now I'm focused on what is your success.
Yeah.
So I think being able to personally be in a safe place to create those kind of conversations. So I think that's one of the things that, kind of I joke about, I'm so old now, but I think that the experience and the age have created a sensibility, a humility, just a willingness to listen without judgment to help you clarify. Let's clarify. What do we know? What don't we know? What do we need to find out? What do we need to improve? And then let's put together an action plan to get there.
And how do people find you, Ted? Where do I find GSSI?
Yeah, thanks. My email is TEDavis, just one D, TEDavis at grace for the number 4 success.com, TEDavis at grace4success.com. And my cell phone number, 913-306-149. And then, of course, you can just go on LinkedIn, of course, and look me up and instant message there as well.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Ted. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Much respect for your service. By the way, I never got to thank you for that because you were telling so many awesome stories. I come from a family of many people who served, so it means a great deal to me anytime I get to talk to somebody who has served.
It truly was a blessing to be a soldier. I'm so thankful that was part of my life, and thank you for today. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to wax. I hope maybe some element was eloquent, but
you did a great job. You did a great job, and our listeners are going to love it. Thank you very much for your time, though, Ted.
Take care.
Yeah, you too.